Hi everybody, this is the last talk of the day, so if you made it so far, yeah, please stick with me because I'm going to talk about AI. The title of the talk is Empowering Your Flutter Apps with AI, Gemini and Firebase AI Logic. So maybe in case you don't know me, I'm Gianfranco and I'm CTO and co-founder at Somnia Software. At Somnia, we are basically a dev shop that we specialize in Flutter. We make web or mobile apps, in some cases also desktop apps for our clients. So this is very important because I'm going to talk about how we are experiencing this topic inside the company. By topic, I mean AI. I'm also a Google developer expert for Dart and Flutter. I'm a software engineer and a Flutter developer, but I don't code so much anymore as I would like. Also a speaker, and I'm organizer in of Flutter Montevideo meetup, where I live in Uruguay, in South America. Okay, so the agenda for today, what it really motivated me to talk today, is how we are experiencing AI in our company and also in industry in general. I spoke with so many colleagues here, and I feel like it's the same sensation that we have. So basically, I'm going to cover the AI landscape and the new era for Flutter apps, how we are visualizing this change in our company. Then how you can start, in case you haven't, to incorporate AI into your skills with Flutter and Firebase AI Logic. That is like the easiest way to start. We are also covering some best practices and advanced techniques in the AI space, and some conclusions and next steps and takeaways that you can take for you to have in your mindset. So I think that the first topic I want to bring is the AI landscape and the new era of Flutter apps. I think that for us, and remember that I told you that we work with so many clients with an engineering team that is really large, with a lot of senior engineers, also with so many clients working with Flutter. And the things that we are thinking that is changing, that AI is changing in our daily basis, let's say, is I will say there are two things. On one hand, the role of the developer, that is kind of like changing how the developer works on a daily basis, because AI is kind of changing the role. And also, on the other hand, how the developers, in this case, for example, a Flutter developer, a software engineer, is making new features, new products that are more complex than were before. Just to summarize, like there is AI is impacting in our efficiency, in our performance, in how we code on our job, but also it's enabling us to create more features that were kind of like really difficult before. In a way, it's kind of like helping us to achieve more. Speaking more about the first topic, how the role of the developer is evolving. This was really crucial for us as well, because we have had to adapt to the new reality. Suddenly we have like a team of Flutter developers or engineers that need to incorporate this new tooling that are in the ecosystem, because if not, we wouldn't be so competitive with market. So basically, we can say that AI has lowered the entry barrier for developers. I think this has also happened in other trends, such as low code, for example, where I don't know, we start thinking about if it is necessary for a developer that actually codes everything, and maybe using low code tools could be like the future as well. And in this case, also the LLMs are kind of changing how we approach programming. And of course, it's going to be different from people or developers that already know how to code, and there are senior developers, and also for more junior developers that are starting their journey. But also, what we can say is that AI is changing also in a way that people that doesn't necessarily have a background in software can actually make really complex apps. Although, of course, this should be tackled like really responsible because, yeah, under a hood, I really believe that we actually need to know how everything is working. We can't only rely on the LLMs to do the entire job so far. So yeah, I think that new concepts started to appear in, such as vibe coding, for example. I have one of our clients saying like, we need to start vibe coding, and he didn't know how was that. So we started like also kind of like tackling this problem responsibly, because if not, like the whole industry is going to kind of believe that the future is by coding. So yeah, also I pointed out like English could be like a programming language for the future, because right now using the English could actually generate code, so it's like a higher level of abstraction that we can use in order to code. And yeah, also the focus on prog requirements has shifted, because yeah, the engineers are kind of tackling more real world problems, and we don't are necessarily only we don't need only to let's say learn a framework, maybe Flutter or a different framework, but I think like the role of the developer needs to be more complete in order to use all the technology that is available, so it can solve like more real complex problems, and let the LLMs do the actual work that we used to do in the past, and focus more in interesting things in our products, right? So in a way, it's like the software developer is evolving more in having more a product mindset, and leverage all the available tooling, so he can be more efficient, and he can care more about the features. So yeah, I think that one of the many tools that we have today is like cool IDEs that are backed by AI, such as Cursor or Gemini, or Claude, and also the LLMs that we usually interact with, so we can ask questions such as Gemini or different kind of OpenAI or any other one. And also we have other tools that are more for prototyping, for example, Firebase Studio, Lovable and Bolt. And this also was a challenge for us, because suddenly we needed to incorporate this tooling into our development team, into our engineering team, but also we needed to kind of reinvent how we sell our consultancy services. Remember that at Somnio, what we do is we work with clients, so basically this is also impacting in the way we deliver software to our clients, because if we, for example, start using Firebase Studio or let's say Bolt or Lovable or even B0 from Vercel, those are tools that lets you start with a lot of code from the beginning, from a single prompt, but they are not so necessarily like following a process where we started with a design and then we start developing every feature. Maybe you are also discovering new features by only using these prototyping tools, and that kind of like change in a way how we deliver software for our clients, because we have to communicate really clear that if we start with these tools, we can be really fast at the beginning, and then we can start iterating, and we can give the value that is taking less time to achieve like a product, right? So yeah, in here what I'm trying to illustrate is how we might think, or how we might rethink how we develop software, because we have different tools that are backed by AI, but definitely it's something that it needs to be incorporated into our daily basis as developers, because I don't see a future where we don't use this anymore. It's something that has changed, and we need to start adapting it. So yeah, again, the difference between like what it would be a bootstrapper versus an iterator. For example, if you have used Firebase Studio or B0 is like more a tool for traditional web technology such as React. This lets you basically start with a lot of code from a single prompt, and then you have the code. In some cases, like for example, Firebase Studio has a lot of features that you can visually make some changes, but then you start with something more, let's say, like a prog that you will take like maybe weeks or even months to start working on, and then from that point you can start incrementally adding more things. Whereas if you use, for example, Cursor, is a tool that lets you iterate more on the features or in documentation or even testing. So there's a clear differentiation while using these tools. So I think like we need to also find a balance while working with these new tools, where we can move forward really fast at first, and then use the available IDE, for example, Cursor, to iterate more and be more efficient or more creative in our jobs. So yeah, another thing that we noticed is that suddenly we were experiencing a new era for mobile apps. AI has changed the way Flutter developers or mobile developers can create new features. Suddenly, like the apps that we do are more intelligent, are agentic apps, or are automating complex processes. For example, in this case, we are seeing like the notebook LM, that this will be really difficult to build some years ago. And at this point, we can leverage all of the power of AI and LLMs to provide this type of experiences. And I feel like also in our case, the Flutter engineers also needed to adapt to this new terminology, so we can give or create this type of experiences for our clients. And in some cases, we also need to tell our clients how to approach with this new technology. So yeah, no, it's not that in every case you can include AI. You need to also analyze if whether or not it makes sense. But the technology is available, and in some cases we realized that we could put like really complex features in the products that we work by only understanding like what is possible, right? So yeah, some examples of different apps that we can build today is intelligent assistants, generative design tools, that are things that even in the past thinking how to generate this was really complex. So yeah, one of the many things that you could also, maybe you already heard in different talks, is the multimodality. So even though like the idea of having an LLM is to predict the next token, you can pass text, images, audio, or videos. So this gives you the ability to think about really complex features and scenarios. Also, the generative UI, that I think is really cool, because again, it's changing how we envision the apps or how we interact with software should be. For example, if we remember, I don't know, like some features that were more personalizing the experience of the user. For example, you could have like an e-commerce app that displays different suggestions based on the user. This was really complex to get some years ago, but in this case, generative UI will definitely change how a user would, we could present a UI for that user that is completely customized for their needs. So maybe we have different users that are being displayed different UIs that are generated on the fly, and with the technology that we have today, I think the future will be in that perspective, that we can, kind of like tell the LLM what are the possible outcomes that a user can have, and then let the LLM generate the UI that is needed for that user. So yeah, I think that's really awesome, because it's something that has also changed the paradigm of how we think about the different workflows that are presented to the users. Also, the agentic apps is something that there were some talks today as well. I think that in that sense, if we understand like how the LM works, that basically is something that predicts the next token, but it doesn't know how, for example, retrieve data from the real world. So in that sense, connecting tools to, or basically the possibility that the LLM call an API or a service or something, will actually let us think how we can plan these different features that, or workflows that we want to show to the user, and yeah, have more intelligent, in a way, apps that it uses LLMs. And I think that the point about being non-deterministic is really also something different, because at the end of the day, we don't know what are going to be the results that are going to be like send us back from the LLM, and this is something that we also need to get used to, because yeah, it will mean that in every let's say iteration that we call LLM, we could have different results, and based on that, we need to adapt the responses that we can send to the user. And there are a lot of strategies here that we are going to see on how to reduce these non-deterministic scenarios that we can get. So yeah, if you so far you haven't started like working with AI, I think Flutter in combination with Firebase AI logic is the perfect way to start. It's really easy. The idea of this, I mean, it has been renamed. Actually, it was Vertex AI, but the idea is to start like as if you were, for example, someone who is really strong in front end in general. Firebase lets you, in general, lets you to build a backend as a service, and it presents a lot of services that you don't have to like create a customized backend. In this case, it's the same, but for features oriented to AI. So in a way, it's like a middleware between your client, your Flutter app, and Gemini API in this case, because it's more it's using like the Google models, Gemini, but you can take these examples and apply it to any LLM. So yeah, just to start, it's really easy. There used to be a package that is like discontinued, like deprecated. It was Google Generative AI SDK. So basically, the idea behind was that, to start prototyping. The negative part was that in this package we were forced to put like an API key, and this is not like so secure to store the API key in the client. So yeah, Firebase AI is like the best way to start experimenting with AI features, and you can you don't have the API key in your client, so it's more secure. So yeah, once you install the package, you have to set up everything in Firebase. It's really simple, because if you have your Firebase, it's only setting up the different service, in this case Firebase AI logic, and you can connect your app. You can start working in a more controlled environment without needing to create an API key. That will be like the developer API mode. And also you can then take your project into production. And then, some really simple setup. So what I'm trying to demonstrate here, that is everything looks the same as if you were using Firebase, the same setup, a different package that is called Firebase AI, but you can set up everything with Flutter Pub. And then you can start using the models. In this case, we are seeing like how to connect to a Gemini Flash model. This is a light model with less reasoning capabilities. But again, here what we do, a good starting point will be to start asking you what is the model that I need to use. There are a variety of models, even in the Gemini family. But also, if we think about OpenAI or Claude, I mean, different models that we can use. And one of the challenges that we started noticing, like when we were developing this product for our clients, was what are the considerations we need to take in order to choose the model? What are the trade-offs? What are the criteria needed in order to choose it? And for example, we were working in an app that it was targeting a smartwatch, and in this case, it wasn't needed to have like a really capable model because we only wanted to show fast responses with really less amount of tokens, because imagine if you're on your smartwatch, you need to read a lot of information. Whereas if you're in a computer, in a web app, maybe you want to give the ability to your user to access to a more capable model. And also, there are some cost considerations that you need to take, of course. In this case, we weren't using a strategy to monetize the app, so we wanted to lower the cost as much as possible. And yeah, of course, like the models that are more capable, like tend to cost much. So yeah, in this case, here is like a comparison between the models in Gemini, and yeah, again, one of the criteria that you need to start thinking about is how much it will cost, the reason capabilities. Also, if you are able to connect your app with the cloud or not, if you want to work in an offline environment. In those scenarios, maybe having something on device will be better, and also it could be because of security reasons. Maybe you don't want your app to access to an external LLM that is not controlled by you. So yeah, all of these trade-offs needs to be considered when you start working, you start including AI capabilities in your app. So yeah, something really cool that was presented in Google I/O, I think, but it's still on experimental, but you can start trying, is the new Gemini Live API. I think that the approach is kind of the same, but this is like to explain how easy it is to provide the user with the capability of start talking with an LLM model. Maybe it could be Gemini Flash as well, and getting responses back, like in either audio or text, and you can stream back and forth, have a bi-directional streaming with the LLM, and this is like under, let's say, 50 lines of code. And if we think about like in the past to implement this, we should have like probably like a dedicated machine learning team it was like really impractical to implement all of this, and now we have it under just 50 lines of code. So that's really awesome how we can use this SDK and provide different features. I think that you, like as a developer, we need to kind of like realize that there is a lot of power features that we can include in our apps, and it's a matter of being creative enough so we can present a useful feature for our users. So one of the best practices and advanced techniques that we identify, of course, the first one will be like to prompt engineering. One of the things that it happens to us was also that when we started incorporating AI features into our client apps, it was really difficult to estimate them. I mean, estimation in general, like, is kind of difficult, whether or not you're using AI. But in the case of AI, it was really difficult to cross a line where we were comfortable enough to ship that feature to our users. So there are some misleading practices that maybe they will tell you that if you, for example, applied fine-tuning, it will be better than prompt engineering. So here I think that this practice in particular lets you have better results from your LLM, because if you only communicate through an LLM by only, I don't know, saying what you want in one line, you won't get the best results out of them. So I think like prompt engineering is becoming more of an art of understanding how LLM thinks in a way, and such as for us, programming was something that it was kind of an art. Imagine when you are like designing a solution and you think, okay, this is something that I realize because I'm a programmer and I'm thinking as a programmer. Well, this is kind of the same. You need to start thinking more about how the LLMs and the different tricks that you can apply in order to get better results. So the idea would be to incorporate these skills so you can have better results from the LLM. And there's clearly a division between like what would be like a poorly formed prompt and a well-formed prompt that can generate more significant outputs. And here, again, in the projects we work, we felt like consistently applying new tricks in the prompts was, we were getting like better results, and you can eventually ship a product that is only using prompt engineer. You don't have to get it more fancy or more complex by using other techniques. So yeah, I think that in a way this is something really important while developing. Also, here we have, again, the agentic apps. There is a cool talk that was in the I/O, and it was a repeated topic during the conference. I think that, again, the LLMs don't really have like real-world access. And when you start incorporating like a LLM in a product, they are kind of like cool, but in a way they don't know like normal questions that everyone could answer, because they are predicting the next token. So given the ability to connect it with the outside world is something that it seemed a difficult thing to do, but nowadays it's really backed into the libraries or into something that's called MCP, that is a new standard protocol that it lets you make your LLMs talk with different tools, so they are more aware of the outside context. And I think, the type of experiences that we can build, in this case with Flutter, if we think about an agentic experience, are really things that were really difficult to achieve a few years ago. And just with connecting different tools with an LLM, we can achieve like really complex workflows. So there is the concept also of invoking a function or an API that is really connecting tools to the LLM, and we can define different functions. So the LLM, once we pass the information, it's going to be able to run that code on behalf of us. So this is like just an example of function calling in the Firebase AI Logic SDK. And here, if you can see, like in the last line, it's a relatively simple example, but we are giving the ability to the LLM to call the fetch weather tool. This could call an API that we have. So now the LLM is more intelligent because he's going to know how's the weather right now, right, or in a city. So I think that this combination of including more tools in your LLM can also is like a real cool technique, because it can you can have like different or new results that weren't possible with just a generic model. Also, the retrieval augmented generation. This is like more advanced topic, but the idea here is again, try to have better results from your model, and try to reduce the hallucinations. I know if you heard this topic, maybe yes, but the idea that at some point the LLMs start hallucinating because it's impossible to get back to have the LLM producing good results, and they start hallucinating. So having these other techniques, well, I think you need to kind of like first see if prompt engineering is enough. Maybe you are in a scenario where RAG is going to provide more information or more target information to your model. And I think this technique could be useful if you have like real-time data that is updating each time, and you want to narrow the information that is given into the LLM. This implies a lot of maybe scary things, such as having a database that is a vector database, and the concept of embeddings. But at the end of the day, it's just to give the LLM the ability to access more curated information. Also, the fine-tuning that we mentioned, again, this is a different technique that it lets your model to know more of a domain specific or a niche information. Maybe you're in a scenario where a generic model is not doesn't know the whole information or doesn't know your particular domain. So yeah, if you search for a fine-tuned model, or maybe you want to fine-tune your own model with your specific information, you own some intellectual property about a domain, you can actually get better results because yeah, the model is going to be more specialized in what you know. So the comparison will be to understand better. Imagine if the LLM will be the teacher of the elementary school, and then the fine-tuned model will be the professor because he's more specialized and he can teach you. He has the base of being a teacher, but he can teach you like more concrete information. So yeah, some of the conclusions and next steps. I think that just to wrap everything up, yeah, again, the software developer role is changing very rapidly. It is a trend or a technology that is continuously changing every week. It's difficult to also be at the latest with every announcement that we have. And yeah, it's something that we need to, I mean, in our case, we need to reflect what are the tools that we use in our daily basis, how we can be competitive, be creating more value, because yeah, these things at the end of the day, let us forget about the hard parts of like coding and spending hours in the boilerplate code or the code that is needed in order to start creating a feature that is specific for the use case. So yeah, I think that it's just to reflect on how it's evolving, and if we need to start thinking more about these things instead of specializing in how to know a framework, for example. Then also the LLMs offers you a different variety of use cases. If we think about the multimodality capabilities, we can think about features that were really hard to even yeah, think of in the past, like to create this type of features. So this let us create more complex products that can solve like use cases that in the past were really complex because we needed like a whole team or we needed more like skills in other type of fields such as machine learning or AI. So yeah, and Firebase is a great choice to start the AI journey in case you haven't. I think it's really easy to start playing around with the models and start yeah, investing more time in understand how they work, what are the features that we can include in our apps. And yeah, I would suggest to start simple and don't overwhelm with different more complex techniques, because you can get like a lot of cool results. It's really difficult to cross the line where your product that is using AI is finished, and because mainly because it's like non-deterministic. So yeah, it's more of an art that you need to start having your app being used by users and start getting some conclusions around that, and then you can start like continuing improving your approach, maybe incorporating more advanced techniques, or maybe just like iterating on the prompts. And I think like yeah, it's a great time to be a software developer, but because it's really exciting, whether or not like you're new in software. I think what you can leverage today is really awesome. It's a time like where new developers need to also reflect on what is important while building software, because it has really changed. But yeah, it's quite exciting because of the type of things that we can do today. So as next steps, I recommend to see like these two previous talks. Of course, like in this conference, we are having more and more talks related to the topic. But yeah, in the Google I/O, we saw like how we can build agentic apps with Firebase and Flutter, and more a concrete example of how to do that, and the type of features that we can get from a relatively small code base. And also, yeah, there is the other talk about the Flutter AI toolkit that is more like something from the community that is being built, and it lets you also experiment with different models, and I think it's really valuable to interact with it. So, so yeah, also other next steps, yeah, if you haven't used Firebase AI Logic to include AI features in your app, or try to, maybe if you are like working on a pro, try to suggest these capabilities, because maybe your clients don't know what is possible nowadays, or maybe your project manager as well. So yeah, play and test with different available models, understand the limitations, the best use cases, so you can, yeah, mainly understand when should you use different models, based on the trade-off that we mentioned. And then lastly, yeah, think about how AI can differentiate your apps from conventional apps, let's say like the apps that we normally used to develop. So yeah, again, because it's really exciting, and maybe you can develop more cool features for your products that you're working on. So yeah, we finished. So thank you, everyone. This was the last talk. So if you made it so far, great. Yeah, if you have any questions, you can find me here. And yeah, thanks to everyone.